we're proud to present Seller Sessions live in London, where we'll be flying in some of the world's most advanced Amazon educators. The event will be held at the prestigious David Game Keynote Theatre. Alongside myself will be Evelyn Demirov, who is known for breaking lots of trends on Amazon, Anthony Lee, one of the early innovators of the blast ranking method and published author. We'll also be flying in show favourites Liran Hirschkorn and Paul Harvey. Over the coming weeks, we'll be announcing more speakers and content. So if you want to join in the fun with other super smart Amazon sellers and brands, then visit sellersessions.com/live and grab super early bird tickets before they go to full admission. We'd like to say a big thank you to all of our media partners, which include GS1 UK, Web Retailer, River Cleaner, Sixleaf, Orange Click and Amazing Freedom. We look forward to seeing you all in London on June 1st. Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Today I bring back Dan Little. Hey Dan, how you doing?
Hey Danny, how are you doing? I'm good, mate.
Excellent. So it's been a while since you've been on. I think it's been about 18 months or so. You came on and we discussed about rankings and giveaways and stuff. Yeah. But the reason I wanted to bring you back is because I want to talk to you about life after exiting not one but two Amazon businesses, and just want to go through the process. For the members of the audience, I have to be clear is that Dan is under NDA, so there's certain things he can't discuss, but I will try and push him on everything else. So I just want everyone to get a feel of what the process is like if they haven't done it for themselves and what to expect. So let's just dial back and start with the first business, which I think you said off call was one product. Basically, it wasn't like your second one, which we'll go into, but the first business was one product, multiple variations that you started in 2014. Is that right? Do you want to pick up the thread from there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So started that one back in, I think it was August 2014. Built that up. It was just a single product, but we were selling right across Europe. So in all of the 5 European marketplaces. It was doing decent numbers for a single product business. It was that enabled me to quit my job and also my wife to quit her job. And that was enough income every month to support us both and the family. And then we sold that in around, I think it was April 2016. So it would have been nigh on 18 months.
Cool. So basically you that was on a single product. I mean, it's not the same nowadays. People want a bit more meat on the bone, but back then you could do all of that on a single product. That was like not the glory days, but that was the earlier days before a lot more people come into the Amazon space, right? So yeah, a lot of changes and the ground has shifted a lot since then. But do you want to talk me through the sale process back then? Obviously that was your first time. So it was your first rodeo. You wasn't sure what was going on. How did you approach it and where were the kind of brokers and stuff that you went to?
Yeah, so to be honest, I hadn't even thought about selling it, but at the time I was listening to a different podcast and the guy was talking.
You can name them, it's fine.
It was the FBA High Rollers, Manny Coates.
Yes, yeah. Yep.
And he was talking at the time, or he might have been FBA All Stars. Thinking about it, yeah, I think it was FBA All Stars.
So that would have been Matt who runs.
Yeah, Matt. Yeah, and he was talking about how he was potentially thinking about selling his business, and he'd been in touch with Empire Flippers.
Yeah,
he was a bit shocked to hear that they took a 15% fee, and he was trying to work about how he was going to sell it himself, and that basically sort of planted the seed for me. And then it got to the point where I'd started my second Amazon business with a partner just because I knew that I was going to need some extra money for cash flow and we wanted to expand quicker. And this was sort of like proof of concept. And then I went to him as a family friend with plenty of money and he wanted sort of proof that it would work. And I showed him the original business. It was like ready to go. So long story short, we had that overlapping for probably a period of 6 months.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I wanted to focus my attention more on this new business that was like onto its third product and it was doing really well. It was like twice the size of the other one. And it just got to the point where I thought, you know what, why don't we sell it? Why don't we cash in and have some money? Like, because the new business, we weren't really taking any money out, as you know, like cash flow, you put it into new products, you don't really take money out of the business. And I just thought, well, here's an opportunity for us to pay off some of our mortgage and like live a better life for a little while.
Yeah.
So we jumped in and thought about selling it. And that's when I sort of remembered about this Empire Flippers thing and got in touch with them. And I did look around to see if there was anywhere else you could sell it. And there was a few other places, but they all seemed to charge about 15% unless you were willing to do it completely by yourself, which I wasn't. Yeah. So we went in and started the process with them.
Cool. And so talk me through the process. the stages of meeting different options of buyers. I'm assuming that these agents are putting some people towards you and say, look, this is the package here. This is how we're taking it out to the marketplace.
Yeah.
And so what was it like, the meeting of the options in terms of the buyers?
Yeah, so the onboarding process, I suppose, was where we started. And that was a case of you submitted like a really basic form just to get an idea of evaluation. It was like, what's your turnover and what's your profit margins and what's your like costs and et cetera, how many products you've got. And all of those things came together and like gave you a multiple. And the multiple was based on your net earnings per month. So that was like profit that you took from Amazon minus any other fees, for example, Facebook ads and Google ads and et cetera. And so that was your bottom line, and then you got your multiple, and that was what the valuation would go on for. And I was pretty happy with the valuation they'd given on mine. I think they listed it for 28 multiple, which apparently at the time was like quite industry average, especially considering it was only a single product business. So it's a little bit more risky because obviously if one product goes, you've lost everything.
Yeah.
And so then the next step was that they took you, they sent you a spreadsheet, and it's changed a little bit since then. So in the first business I sold, they sent you a spreadsheet and you were expected to fill it in from the beginning of time of the business or right back for 2 years or whichever was shorter. And that was basically a process of downloading all your settlements, taking screenshots to like back up as evidence, and then filling in all the details. And that, to be honest, was a bit of a time-consuming process. However, on the new business, they now do that for you. So they have a tool that automatically downloads and fills in the spreadsheet, and you just check it basically. So that's really good.
Yeah.
And then once it was on and on the marketplace, one of the other things they did was a sort of interview a bit like this. So they had a seller interview where they just talked through the numbers and talked through the business and just gave a face to a name, I suppose. And that was really clever, I thought, because it meant that anyone who was potentially going to ask questions could first of all have a look at this interview. Because before the interview, I was getting quite a few calls where they were just asking loads and loads of questions. So we covered all those in the interview, and that meant they sort of slowed down on the like.
Get rid of the time wasters and the tire cookers.
Yeah, well, it wasn't necessarily that. It was just when you're on the call, the idea is that Empire Flippers are trying to turn it around and sort of close the sale. And when there was loads of questions that I was then having to go away and find the information for, it just meant they'd never got the chance to close the sale in the call. So I think what they wanted was all the questions answered before the call. And the idea of the call was just to like run the last few questions where it doesn't need information, where you're bringing it from external sources so that they can then turn it around and say, would you be interested, sort of thing.
Yeah.
In terms of how many calls we had on the first business, I think it was probably 10 people until we actually had maybe 2 or 3 who put an offer in, one of which we accepted and then moved forward with.
Cool. So business number 1, that's done and dusted. You picked up some experiences there. Talk me through the process of business number 2, this time teamed up with a partner.
Yeah.
What was your thought processes now? You've already done one sale. I take it you made sure that you weren't doing cash accounting and you was on accrual accounting, etc. from the very first day of this business, knowing at some point you're going to sell it. So you're actually structured for sale from day one?
Yes and no. I think that we had always planned that 3 to 5 years we would sell the business, or once it got to a certain size. But we weren't really as organized as we should have been in the very beginning. However, towards the end, like 1 year before we sold, we definitely did start to like cut back on all of the unnecessary subscriptions, like really tighten the reins on the costs. And like get everything like super organized within the accounts so that you could like break down all the Facebook ad costs by product instead of it just going in as one lump sum invoice.
Yeah, as a line item.
Yeah, and that just made it really easy when it came to filling in the Empire Flipper spreadsheet, because they do the Amazon side by automatic tool or whatever they do it through.
Yeah.
But then they say, right now, we need you to go in and like input all of your additional business expenses, and anything that's more than, I think, $1,000 in the month has to be broken down. So that meant that when we were doing Facebook ads, all that had to be broken down. It had to be broken down by product and by marketplace. And that was a little bit tedious. But had we not had all the information within Xero, our accounting platform, it would have been even harder to go back and trawl through all the Facebook invoices. So that would definitely be a tip for someone who's looking to exit, is to make sure your accountancy platform that you're using is like super, super organized.
Cool. And so I take it, you just mentioned that you use Empire Flippers twice then. So you went back to the same people, but the devil go and see them guys. So how long did it take to put the sales process together for this second business? And do you want to give us the amount of products, what markets and stuff like that, without going into what the products are?
Yeah, so we had maybe 4 products in the European market and 2 products in the US, sort of North American market. And that's what the business was sold with. In terms of how well we've been doing it since, when was that? So I think it was November 2015. Mm-hmm. We sold it in October 2018. So almost 3 years it got to.
Okay. And were they all under the same brand as well? And did they have lots of variations? Or
Yes, yeah. So of those products, I think we maybe had another 15 total different variations across the board. So I think we had maybe 20 SKUs total. And they weren't all in the same brand, no. There was 3 brands.
Yeah. No, so 3 different brands, 6 products, 20 different variations in total across the EU and the US. So where was your most prominent market? I take it was the US followed by UK and Germany, was it?
No, it was actually the other way around. So it was 70% in Europe and 30% in the US was where the profit was coming from. But only because, again, it's like the better the devil you know, being based in the UK, we started with Europe and then later on expanded into the US, but only with a couple of products that we had seen do really well in the UK, and then we tested the market in the US and then sort of really took off there. Yeah. And they were, I think the thing is, it's also like 20 SKUs doesn't sound like a lot, but they were like blockbuster products. So the 6 products that we had were really, really high earners. I don't really look for products that like earn anything less than X amount per month.
Yeah.
So
give the audience just a general idea. I think some of your products were doing like 100 plus units a day.
Yeah. I don't think we had any SKUs that were doing less than 100 units per day. No.
Yeah. So you're playing in the big leagues in the sense of
actually not SKUs but products, not the 20 SKUs, but the 6 products we were all doing like super, super high numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, because you've been on the show, you were one of the first people to show me a lot about in terms of organic ranking on Amazon and doing giveaways and storefront URLs and stuff. A lot of the stuff, although with Anthony Lee as well, you opened my eyes to a lot of stuff way back then. So I think a big part of maybe some of the success for you of selling in the bigger categories, should we say, or the high velocity categories, was your ability to do rank well and do giveaways, etc.
Yeah, so not so much giveaways in the last few rankings, just because it started to be less and less effective. Yeah. So I'd always done like the same method every time for the products that we'd launched, because obviously we had 6 products, but we haven't only had 6 products. We've maybe had 15, and then some of them have just been streamlined down. Some of them never were really very good. Yeah. But in terms of launches, we've done sort of 15 product launches, or even more maybe. And in the beginning, it was like Facebook ads to a landing page, give them a coupon code for like 75 or 80% off, send them via like the storefront URL link. And it was like within 3 days you were ranked. And that was super simple. And then it became that it wasn't as effective. So you would choose like some slightly longer tail keywords, and then you would sort of build those up first. And then you would choose the shorter tail keywords once you had a few reviews on board and once you had some sales velocity behind you and Amazon sort of trusted you. And then that became less and less effective. And then I tried out some of the, like Zonblast and things like that. And I did that on one product, and it was all right. It took like 14 days, and eventually it got there, but it was very, very expensive. I think that the best thing that I have found in the latest results was internal Amazon advertising. So sponsored products, Amazon headline search ads and things like that. And then with a little bit of like external Facebook traffic coming in, but just like normal traffic, not given any huge discounts, just like 20 or 30% off, and then getting the actual customers who are legitimately interested, who then click on the ad, go to the landing page, claim the coupon, and then go on to Amazon, or even just displaying the coupon like within the ad.
Yeah. So just want to pick up on the part there that, you know, which I think is key, because you've demonstrated by selling the 2 businesses now, but you said out of the 6 products, maybe you had 15 product launches, which everyone has hits and misses. And I think that's what people have to understand. And you have to embrace the misses and suck up those losses for the hits, because for you, the upside was massive on the hits, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So talk me through some of the things, if you don't mind, like with some of the misses, what the biggest things that you learnt there?
Yeah, I mean, the 6 products that remained were like absolute blockbusters. They rocked it from the start and they did really, really well. Yeah. The other sort of 9, they weren't all immediate failures. I mean, probably 2 of them just never really got out of the blocks. Some of them we had sort of infringement issues where we launched a product and then after a while of it doing really well, we either got like a patent or a trademark infringement, and that sort of held us back. And that became a key part of our then sort of sourcing strategy, was to make sure that we weren't going into a market where there was a potential for patent or trademark infringement. And then the rest simply went through the sort of life cycle. I think a lot of products on Amazon, unless they're sort of products that are very unassociated with a trend, if you're looking at trend products, then they are going to go through that trend, and the trends are getting faster and faster. So they'll come in, unless you catch them on the way up, and then you really capitalize on the way up, they are going to come down. And I think a lot of people make the mistake of like procrastinating and waiting for like evidence to see a product is really good. But by then it's like it's reached its top and it's on the way down. Yeah.
So they hit the trend on the downtail. So,
yeah. So a lot of our products in the very early days, we sort of hit them on the downtail where like they were doing really high numbers with sort of 25, 26% margin. And then it just started to like, the numbers just got crunched and crunched until you got to the point where you were making like 5 or 10% margin. And at that point, we just cut them out. It wasn't that they were unsuccessful. You were still talking like a couple of thousand reviews in the UK, which is pretty huge in sports. And then like still doing 50, 60, 70 units a day, but only making like £20. And that just, it's just not something that I want to have to deal with customer service for to make £20 a day. So you may as well just cut that out and just streamline into other things. Because obviously you're tying money up because you're trying to like make more money from a low margin product. So you're bringing more in at a time. So you're shipping in huge container loadfuls and then they're taking ages to get through. It's just like not a good use of money.
Yeah, exactly. It's about, at the end of the day, this game's about numbers, and it's getting a return on investment and how quick you can return that cash back into your account to deploy again after. So we've kind of gone around a little bit. Let's go back into the deal with this second business. So obviously you could show and the company would see both sets of hits and misses. So you explained them to them. This is what we've had to do to get these products. We've dialed those out because they wasn't as profitable, but we've now remained with the 6 key products, which is the most optimal for the business. So how long did it take you to close off the deal with the said company?
I would say less than a month.
Right.
Not very long. I think for us, it was mainly because quarter 4 was coming. So when we sold it in October, obviously, I think we started talking to them in like early September. And I think they knew, because they'd seen the graphs on Empire Flippers, that Christmas was always a good time for us. So I think that they were thinking, if we can close this earlier, then we'll be able to get the Q4 earnings straight away. Whereas if they closed it in January, then they have to wait 9 months to get those Q4 earnings. So it made a lot of sense for them to close early. And I think, to be honest, because we were in a position where we were super organized, like Empire Flippers had everything laid out and there was like very little questions that could be asked. And the questions that were asked, we had all the answers for. There was nothing to hide. It wasn't a dodgy business. It was a genuinely good business. We had built up with a view of selling it one day. So we knew exactly what was coming. And I think that when the buyers were doing the due diligence, they saw that and they actually commented and said that this is one of the easiest businesses we've taken over. Because I think they'd bought a few others in the past.
Yeah, makes total sense. So where did that leave in, like some people just, it's a cash deal. I know you can't go into graphic details because NDAs and stuff. Are you on an earn out? Are you still in contact with the company? Is there like the kind of the soft fall where you're there on the support role? What's your capacity?
Well, I'll not. I think my NDA probably covers a lot of that. But what I'll say is that there's a few different options that you can do for the sales. I think one of them is that you get the payment up front. That's only genuinely for businesses that are a bit smaller. I'm happy to say that my first one was like that because it was a bit smaller and I got paid 100% upfront, or like after 14 days or so, or whatever it was, once you'd like confirmed all the stuff. They did like due diligence after the payment was held in escrow. Whereas other ways you can do it are you can do an earn out where you'll get like a percentage up front, just push for the biggest percentage you can get up front for obvious reasons. And then you might get like 2 or 3 more payments over however long, 6, 12, 18, 24 months. Again, that would just be a case of push for as much up front and then as little time as possible. Not because you've got something that's going to trip them up later on, but just because you want the money in your pocket rather than in their pockets. You've given them the reins for the business. Once you hand over those reins, it's not you running it anymore. If you've been making a real good success of it and putting all your heart and soul into it, and then they take it over and it's just one of 10 businesses that they own, then it could easily start to slide. And if no one's there to keep an eye on it, it could go downhill quite quick, as we know.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth you getting the money into your pocket as early as possible. But in terms of what I did, I can't really say what I did on the second deal.
That's fine. So let's talk about life after, So you've gone through the process twice now, because I think a lot of people have like the dreams, you exit the business to go and sit on the beach and all this kind of stuff. I was just speaking to a friend, Clive, the other day. He's just exited his conference business. They've just been on the stock exchange. And now his wife's having a go at him, trying to kick him out of his house. And I keep sending them emails and going, have you found your next thing yet? He said, no, I'm still here. I'm reading the newspaper. And he's caught between the stools at the moment. He's waiting for the bug to bite. So when was this happen? This was going back a few months now. So you've exited the business. So what are you filling your days with now? What's going on?
Before I exited this business, I always try and have a 6-month overlap. So 6 months before I exited this business, I started my next business, which is not another Amazon business. I decided that I've done 2 of those now. I feel like it's getting to a point where I was really good at it, but it's just not something that like mainly interests me anymore. I've been doing it since, when was that, 2014, so 4 years now. Yeah. And as an entrepreneur, as you know, Danny, it's like we like a new challenge. Yeah. And I think that I was getting quite good at it, and it just wasn't like turning me on anymore, basically. Yeah. So I think the next thing I've started on is a software as a service business, linked closely to Amazon, in that it's a software that I have used another version of in my business, and now we are creating a better, less expensive alternative.
Yeah, well, look, we don't do big plugs on software, but do you want to just tell us what it is, just give an idea? Because I think, it's quite important that if you are preparing your business for sale and you want to run accounting properly, just want to give people an idea of why you started the business. And
yeah, sure. Well, it does tie in quite nicely to this subject, because it's one of the things that we learned from selling 2 businesses is that having super organized accounts is like really helpful when it comes to an exit. So what the software does is it takes all of your Amazon sales data and reports and puts it into the correct format and then sends it into your accountancy software. So Xero being the one that we are connected to at the moment. And it puts it in as like invoices and bills, and it all like puts the correct taxes and accounts against it. So it just basically takes your sales data from being like a huge long report and puts it into Xero, and then you can just reconcile the payments directly against your bank statement. So it's not something that's new. Obviously, there's other softwares out there that do that already, but we were paying over the odds, in my opinion, for that software that we were on. I'll not name names. But it was also a little bit complicated to set up. So we have made it so that, we're making it. It's currently in beta. So it's going to be super easy to onboard and just much cheaper, basically.
Cool. Sounds good. And what's the best way people can reach out and maybe become, part of the beta program, etc.?
Yeah, if you want to join the beta program, then if you just go to linkmybooks.com, and there is a site there which is not completed yet, but it's got enough information on there that people can join the beta and come and help us to build the best software ever.
Cool. And is there an email address or anything that people can reach you on?
You can email me. It's Daniel@linkmybooks.com.
Sounds good. Okay, Dan, thank you for joining us today. Guys, thank you for joining us. Don't forget, we've got Seller Sessions live in London on June 1st. If you want tickets, go to sellersessions.com/live for more details. Take care, and I'll see you again in a few days.